Turkish Airlines has long been an airline of prestige, most notably being crowned Europe's best airline on 8 different occasions. It makes sense, therefore, that the airline arguably offers the best short-haul and medium-haul product of any European airline. Today, we'll experience exactly that as we fly aboard Turkish's Airbus A321 from its mega hub in Istanbul down to Medina in Saudi Arabia. This video will not only cover the onboard service, but also connecting in Istanbul's massive airport, along with the arrival process in Medina. With that said, thank you for tuning in, and let's begin. Good morning from Istanbul Airport, where I've just arrived from Chicago on the Turkish 787, the subject of an earlier video. It's my first time at Istanbul's new airport, as the last time I visited the city in 2014, Turkish was still flying from the old Ataturk airport. The new airport opened in 2019, and before this trip, I was well aware of the infamous transit experience here. And that's not because it's a bad airport. No, I think it's great overall, and it has basically anything you would expect from a major hub. However, Istanbul New Airport's one massive downside is, ironically enough, its size. The airport has one huge terminal building that houses 6 concourses lettered A through F. The only way to get around this airport is, for the most part, by walking, which is in part facilitated by moving walkways. Now, given how big this terminal is, you could spend upwards of 30 minutes just walking between gates. Of course, that's depending on how fast you walk. I was booked for a 1-hour 45-minute layover in Istanbul, which I was initially worried about. Now, for some reason, and thankfully enough, US arrivals don't go through transit security in Istanbul, so we essentially just got off the plane straight into the terminal. That made things a lot less stressful now because I could just go straight to my gate, and to make matters even easier, there were multiple people on my flight from Chicago who were flying to either Medina or Jeddah, so there was a gate agent who received us on arrival and would walk all of us to our connecting gates. But yeah, if you are considering connecting in Istanbul, be sensible and don't take any layover option that's shorter than 2 hours. Anything between 3 to 5 hours, I would say, is ideal. This morning, I walked from D13 to F13, which took around 20 minutes, but then again, I walk pretty fast. I got to F13 right as we started boarding, and this morning, our flight is TK108 to Medina. We're on board the A321 today, and our aircraft is Tango Charlie Juliet Sierra Tango. Turkish Airlines names its aircraft after Turkish cities, with this one being named after the city of Sinop. Boarding proceeded as normal following a quick passport check. Unfortunately, one of the guys traveling in our group was denied boarding for some ridiculous reason. After being screwed over by Turkish, spending all day in Istanbul, and himself paying for a last-minute ticket on Saudia, we would reunite with him in Medina the following day. Turkish has a fleet of 66 standard A321s, which have 4 different cabin configurations. The most common is the 32R configuration, like our aircraft today, with 180 seats spread across 16 in business class and 164 in economy. I'm seated in 18F today, and the seats were very comfortable. It was also nice to see complimentary earphones that were already waiting on the seats during boarding. Turkish is, I think, the only major European airline offering seatback entertainment on narrow-body aircraft, with most of its A321s and 737s having it. The seat, of course, has a tray table, I didn't notice the remote control, a seat pocket, and pretty decent legroom, although the window seats have a hardware box that restricts leg space. Unfortunately, Turkish does charge economy class passengers to pre-book seats, and for this flight I paid $18 to reserve mine.
In the lavatories, which are equipped with smoke detectors. Should there be a loss of cabin pressure, oxygen masks will drop down automatically from the service unit above your seats.
I want to go back. I love Kenya. I like your hoodie. I like your hoodie.
سخر لنا هذا وما كنا له مقرنين وإنا إلى ربنا لمنقلبون صدق الله العظيم.
Turkish entertainment system is really nice, and it's great that many of its narrow-body planes have it too. Unfortunately, the screens on the standard A321s are fixed in place and can't be adjusted. Regardless, the only power source is a USB-A port, and the headphone jack is there too. The screens are very responsive and have lots of great content choices. Of course, there's a dedicated folder for flight information that also houses the 3D in-flight map. And I didn't cover this in detail earlier, but there is a remote for the entertainment system located in a slightly awkward spot that you could also use just in case. About 15 minutes into the flight, the crew passed around special backpacks as most people flying into Medina or Jeddah are going for pilgrimage. Given the Umrah pilgrimage can be performed at any time during the year, you can always expect something like this on Turkish flights to Medina or Jeddah. Inside are a one-size pair of socks, which were way too small and thus useless to me. There's also a travel prayer mat, and there was also a small counter, which I didn't find until later. I'm glad that over 10 years after I last flew on Turkish to Jeddah, they're still providing passengers with these amenities, and I'm not too sure if other airlines do anything similar. There was one meal choice for breakfast this morning. I think it's a Turkish borek with spinach and cheese alongside mashed potatoes or something. I don't know, it was good. And there's a bread roll which was a little hard, all of it served with butter and strawberry jam, a water cup, yogurt, cucumber, cheese and olives, a towelette and salt and pepper, and Turkish cherry juice as my choice of drink. Overall, a fantastic breakfast, and I think Turkish seems to offer the same exact meal on multiple flights, so chances are that if you've flown Turkish lately, you may have seen this before. After an uneventful flight that I spent mostly sleeping, eventually we crossed into Saudi airspace and soon began our descent into Medina. This was my first time flying into Medina. Though I visited the city last time I was in Saudi, I had flown in and out of Jeddah back then. Our approach brought us past the city and the airport on downwind before making a 180 and landing on runway 35. And somehow I just now found out that Saudi Arabia has a lot of dormant volcanoes, and as such there are several lava fields near Medina. You'll be able to notice a couple of those as we come in for landing. so my flights on this trip were booked as part of an Umrah package that also included accommodations and all transport within Saudi Arabia. So in most cases, economy class flights themselves from Chicago to Saudi would not be $2,900. But as expected, another fantastic flight on Turkish this morning. Unfortunately, I haven't flown any other European airlines, but from what I can tell, I don't know of any who offer amenities like full meals and seatback entertainment on short to medium haul flights, both of which you can mostly expect on Turkish. The only Turkish Airlines aircraft you won't find seatback entertainment on are the Airbus A320s, I think some older 737-800s, and a handful of A321s. Now, when I last came to Saudi in 2014, I landed in Jeddah long before its new terminal opened. We spent 6 hours in immigration that time, so now, over 10 years later, let's see how immigration goes here in Medina. Before coming to Saudi, always be sure to have a printed copy of your visa. Yes, you can also have it on your phone, but authorities definitely prefer seeing a printed copy. And wow, that was by far one of the quickest immigration experiences I've ever had anywhere in the world. Barely any line, and after a quick passport and visa check, the friendly officers let me through in under 2 minutes. And there we go, Ahlan wa sahlan fil Medina, and we've reached the end of this video. Thank you as always for watching and being patient with me as I gradually get these videos out. Life is pretty busy after all. I'll be in Saudi for about 10 days before flying back home, so until I see you next time, take care and ma'as salama.